Part 45. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jung Word. Chapter 441. Chapter 441. Damn it, the male protagonist can't do it. Sunian was so shocked by the news that Huo Linyuan had an illegitimate child that he didn't know what to say. Are you right? Huo Linyuan has an illegitimate child. Sunian looked at Sun Ying'er in disbelief. Sun Ying'er, what's the matter? There were many women before Huo Linyuan. It's normal for someone to slip through the net occasionally, but Lan Min is unlucky. Sunian certainly knows. This book is an ancient Mary Sue, so the setting is that the male protagonist has met many women before, but when he met Lan Min, he felt why this woman was so special, and he took the initiative to break up with all the women before him. But there are no illegitimate children in the novel. The plot difference in this life is too big. Why on earth was there such a big change? Nian, you don't know, this woman was crying in front of the Huo group's company. The scene at that time was really crowded, and the news broke. The more Sun Ying'er talked, the more excited she became. I am very curious now. Curious what's the expression on this Lan Min's face? Isn't he very broken, ha ha ha. I think I should be happy. Sun Ying'er looked at Sunian doubtfully. Sunian, after all, being a mother is painless, who wouldn't be happy? This made Sun Ying'er agree. Sunian then took out her cell phone. How about I send her a red envelope to celebrate? After all, she became a mother painlessly. This is a gratifying thing. Now Sunian is really curious about Lan Zhi's expression. After all, as a female protagonist who loves the male protagonist deeply, she sees her man having children with other women. It's probably as disgusting as eating a fly. Just at this time, Li Baikan walked in. When he saw the happiness on Sunian's face, he knew he had done the right thing. Speaking of which, this reminds me of what happened in my previous life. Li Baikan's body suddenly stiffened. In fact, he calmed down and thought about it carefully. Even if Lan Min wanted his own child, how could Huo Linyuan raise his enemy's child? Therefore, Li Baikan felt that Lan Min came to the child for some reason in his previous life. He also arranged for Josu to check. Now that I heard Sunian's voice, I couldn't help but hold my breath and concentrate. In the last life, Huo Linyuan lacked a certain amount of funds and it was a bit difficult to turn around. Haha, this woman thought that if she could get a certain amount of funds to help Huo Linyuan, it would definitely make their relationship better. This hit the Li family. Haha, the old man is not dead yet, he just wants to adopt my Mo Bao to take over the Li family, so that the Li family will completely become the stepping stone of the Huo family. When he heard this, Li Baikan's hands subconsciously clenched into fists. At this time, Sun Ying'er asked doubtfully, the key is that Huo Linyuan agreed without even thinking about it, without checking. This is a bit strange. Logically speaking, he should check carefully. Because there is something wrong with his body. These words made Sunian and Sun Ying'er look over. Li Baikan walked up to Sunian. Huo Linyuan had physical problems, mainly related to fertility. He was afraid that he couldn't cure it, so he temporarily adopted a child so that he could protect his health. Moreover, I thought the person who sent it must have hoped that the matter would become a big deal, so that no one would be able to step down. Sun Ying'er looked at Li Baikan with disbelief. What are you saying? Huo Linyuan can't do it? Li Baikan nodded. This also shocked Sunian. Shit, can't the male protagonist do it? No, isn't the hero in the Mary Sue novel 13 times a night, or once a night, or one night at a time? Why can't this Huo Linyuan do it? Li Baikan. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jung Word. Chapter 442. Chapter 442. We common people don't understand the greatness of love. Of course Li Baikan would not tell the two women. It was because Huo Linyuan was worried about himself. Always waiting for him to take action, but he has not taken action yet, thus wasting time. For this reason, Huo Linyuan wanted to find something to cover up, so Li Baikan was so kind as to give him a child. This may be the price of a man not loving himself. I have to say that the advantage of Li Baikan, the second male lead, is that he is clean. If Li Baikan were a man who rotted cucumbers, then I would directly obtain the seeds through scientific means. Through scientific means. When Li Baikan heard this, he felt helpless. Should he be lucky? Sunian sent a red envelope to Lan Min. Originally I wanted to humiliate him. But I didn't expect that the other party would collect the payment in seconds. Sunian. Baikan, was that child sent there? Or was it arranged by Huo Linyuan himself, just to use it as a shield? Why is this Lan Min able to receive my red envelope in seconds? Shouldn't she feel uncomfortable now? Sun Ying'er also came up to Sunian. I was also puzzled when I saw the page that was collected in seconds. Did we think too much? Did Huo Linyuan have other arrangements? Li Baikan looked at the two confused women and cleared his throat. After all, Huo Linyuan and I have been in a relationship for so many years. I knew that he had such a problem with his body, how could I bear it, so I did a small favor. But this made Sunian even more confused. Don't we underestimate love? We common people don't know the greatness of love. Sun Ying'er thinks this must be the case. How could Lan Min not feel uncomfortable? When Lan Min heard that Huo Linyuan had a child with another woman, the sky really fell. She immediately went to find Huo Linyuan. I want Huo Linyuan to give him an explanation. Speak to your own face, that child is not your own words. But Huo Linyuan didn't have time to see her at all. This situation made Lan Min even more panicked. But if she didn't get Huo Linyuan's attitude today, she wouldn't leave. The phone in her hand kept shaking. Lan Min burst into tears watching these people laugh at her and laugh at her. It was not until evening that Huo Linyuan appeared in front of her. The moment she saw Huo Linyuan, she immediately stepped forward and grabbed the man's clothes. Linyuan, tell me, that child is not your child, he is not your child, all of this is someone plotted it, right? The child is mine. When he heard this, Lan Min's body began to shake. You knew who I was when you were with me. Isn't it normal for me to have a child? Lan Yan, you have always been very sensible. I hope you can continue to be sensible. It is just a child. At worst, I will raise this child. Under your body, I will be your child, and your body will not be able to carry a child at all. Why are you doing this to me? Lan Min, who wanted to get a negative answer from the man, felt like the sky was about to fall. Lanji, don't make trouble. Huo Linyuan was already a little worried. He didn't have the patience to coax the woman here, so after saying this, he walked directly outside. Lan Zhen looked at the man's leaving figure and couldn't help shouting at the top of his lungs, why do you do this to me? Why don't you marry another woman? Why do you still have children with other women? Huo Linyuan, what can you give me? Me what? Huo Linyuan stopped and said impatiently, isn't it enough that you have my love? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 443. Chapter 443, Mr. Lu comforts people with injuries. When did you become so greedy? Didn't I tell you? At worst, I will give you the child, what else do you want to do? Lan Min, I have tolerated a lot for my own sake, you understand. If you continue to be so unreasonable, don't appear in front of me. Due to his physical condition, Huo Linyuan was originally feeling very uncomfortable during this period. Although Lan Min is the woman he loves, he cannot say this kind of thing. It just so happens that this child can serve as a temporary shield. It is also for this reason that Lan Min's current entanglement makes him feel even more troubled. Hearing Huo Linyuan say, "Don't appear in front of me," Lan Min panicked. After all, other women now have their children. If she doesn't appear in front of Linyuan and is ignored again, then she will completely lose Huo Linyuan. Then she hurriedly took a few steps and stopped in front of Huo Linyuan. "Linyuan, I just love you so much. I really love you so much. Do you know? When I heard that you were having an affair with another woman, at that moment, I really broke down. You have my heart, what are you afraid of? Moreover, it is just a child. Maybe after this child appears, it can bring about the fate of children, thus bringing our child. Jeer, you have my love, I one love." If Sunian were here and heard these words, he would definitely say, "I love a big-headed ghost." Even Lan Min feels very cold now. But what can she do? Should she have a fight with this man, or push this man to others with her own hands? Okay, I still have things to deal with. Just be obedient and wait until I'm done with this period of time. Then I'll stay with you. When he said this, Huo Linyuan patted Lan Min gently shoulder and walked away. At this moment, Lan Min really felt that the world had abandoned her. I don't know why, but now an idea appeared in Lan Min's mind. If it were Baikan, then Baikan would definitely not treat him like this. At this time, her heart ached. That kind of pain. At this moment, the sound of someone walking towards the side suddenly sounded in my ears. Hearing this voice, Lan Min couldn't help but feel happy. She knew, that Lin Yuan had her in mind and would definitely not feel uncomfortable seeing her. Lin Yuan didn't expect that when Lan Min looked up, he saw a face with a bruised nose and a swollen face that looked like a pig's head. There is only one person who is like this at this time and can still appear here. That's Lu Zheng. Young Master Lu. Jian'er, what's the matter? Oh, stop telling me that you're telling the truth. I'm here to support you. Are you okay? Nongfang's in. I'll be with you to defend you. Author, not a typo, Mr. Lu brings sorrow to comfort people, this is a touching spirit. Lan Min looked confused. Lu Zheng. The person in front of her nodded. Lu Jing spent a lot of effort and climbed over the wall. I originally thought I could use this opportunity to show my presence in front of Lan Min and express his feelings, but I didn't expect that his mouth would be so inoperable. He was also anxious. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You must know that when he was climbing over the wall just now, he was too anxious, so he accidentally touched his face. It hurts. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 444. Chapter 444, Helping to Quarrel. Do you want to comfort me? Lu Jing nodded seriously. Lan Min really wants to find someone to talk to him now. But facing a face that resembled a pig's head, she really couldn't tell. Even, I feel like laughing now. Zener, oh, Yang Yuan will be by your side, I will send you for. Will you always be by my side? Lu Dingding nodded. But Lan Min really couldn't be moved. She felt that she could no longer stay here. If she continued to stay here, she would be very embarrassed after laughing. Lu Jing, I am very aware of your kindness. Thank you for your comfort. I am in a much better mood now. It suddenly occurred to me that I have something else to do, so I left first and invited you to dinner when I am free. Xiner, Xiner. Just like that, Lu Jing could only watch Lan Min walking away step by step. Now Lu Jing really wants to slap himself. Why should you believe that woman's words? If he didn't believe that woman, then how could he miss this opportunity? Lu Jing felt that the matter could not be settled like this. Absolutely not. Soon, Lu Jing came to Sun Ying'er as quickly as possible. For a woman with this amount, I will make you pay. The harder Lu Jing tried to speak clearly, the more his face hurt. There was no other way, so he could only take out his phone and say what he wanted to say. The words were typed on the mobile phone and then handed to Sun Ying'er. Sun Yan saw Lu Jing taking out his mobile phone and arguing. So he came over. Master Lu, are you going to quarrel with my sister? Let me help you read the words on the phone so that you can quarrel more easily. Lu Jing glared fiercely. But there is still no other way. It can only be like this. Sun Yan then cleared his throat. Sun Ying'er, you vicious woman, I will definitely make you pay the price! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Lu Jing. This made Lu Jing angry, so he immediately took his cell phone and continued typing. After typing, he handed it to Sun Yan again. You don't need to read the exclamation mark. When Sun Yan finished reading this, his eyes were full of confusion, but if you don't read the exclamation mark, then your anger, Mr. Lu, will not be shown. Isn't it just to express your anger, Mr. Lu? Are you angry? Don't you know the importance of punctuation in sentences, Mr. Lu? Sun Ying'er next to her held her stomach and laughed. Ha 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 ha. It's really amazing. Sun Ying'er is a little lucky now that she has abandoned the dark side and turned to the bright side a long time ago. Ha ha ha, Nian Nian, please don't embarrass young Master Lu. After all, our young Master Lu can't even speak. If you are teasing young Master Lu like this, then you are really cruel. After all, it was you who came up with the idea of the medicine. It's really a bit satisfying for you to gloat about your misfortune after you've tortured me to this point. Sun Yan circled around young Master Lu. Sister, you can't say that. I really feel that our young Master Lu is so pitiful like this. I really can't bear it. I'm your sister. You can't say that to judge a gentleman's heart with a villain's heart. It was okay now. Lu Jing immediately turned his head and looked at Sun Yan fiercely. Young Master Lu, don't worry, you can quarrel with my sister as much as you want. Although I call her sister, I don't have any good qualities, I'm just very compassionate. If Lu Jing hadn't realized that he was being tricked by this woman, then he would be a fool. I wanted to take action immediately. But Sun Yan was not panicked at all. Master Lu, do you think Lan Zhen will like a man who attacks women? End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 445. Chapter 445 Lost something. Lu Jing stopped at that time. I immediately typed a line on my phone. Hand it in front of Sun Yan again. Sun Yan, you vicious woman, I will definitely make you pay the price. There is no exclamation mark this time. Sun Yan frowned and said seriously, why are you saying this again? Are you, Mr. Lu? You are so poor in words and only have this sentence. I still hope you can go back and take care of yourself, so that you can quarrel with us. It's not like this. You type a line and I read a line. It doesn't matter at all. The momentum. Lu Jing. Although Lu Jing was very angry now, Lu Jing had to admit it. The facts Sun Yan said. He could only turn around and leave. After all, a man can shrink and stretch. But before he took a few steps, he heard Sun Ying'er's voice, Nian Nian, you are really kinder than I thought. Do you know, I really thought you were going to humiliate this guy severely and put this guy you can't even find your parents if you scold me. Sister, you are wrong. I am not kind at all. I just don't think it's interesting to argue with this guy. After all, I still have to work hard to read. Don't you think this means I am quarreling with myself? Lu Jing. If he, Lu Jing, does not find his place, then he will not be called Lu Jing. Sun Ying'er now feels that this guy is really pitiful. What are you going to do next? After all, you have made someone so angry. Are you really not afraid of revenge? What are you afraid of? If I were afraid, then I wouldn't go against Lan Min. After all, she is someone who is not even afraid of the heroine. She is just a second-rate dog licker. What's so scary about this? And it's funny how it works. Sun Ying'er also smiled when she saw Sunian looking so confident. But confidence is a matter of self-confidence. She felt that she had to pay close attention to Lu Jing. Although Lu Jing's mind is not good, if a mad dog bites someone, he needs to be careful. After the others left, Sunian only thought of his equipment at this time. I ran to my room immediately. I plan to find out and give it a try. Although she has not found a suitable opportunity yet, it is still possible to satisfy her curiosity. But I didn't expect it, but I couldn't find it. Sunian searched all over the room and couldn't find it. Did the servant take it away? Sunian subconsciously wanted to ask the servant. But he stopped after taking a few steps. After all, how can I say this out loud? Do you want to ask if you have seen my clothes? What if the servant doesn't know? Does she still want to lose face? So Sunian reluctantly searched for it carefully at home. But no matter how hard I look for it, I can't find it. During this period, Sunian couldn't help but restore the behavior of that day, restore it to the past, but there was no so-called clue. This really made Sunian depressed to death. It even made Sunian look listless, like an eggplant beaten by frost. When Li Baikan saw Sunian like this, he immediately became anxious. Susu, what's wrong with you? Why are you like this? Are you uncomfortable? Tell me what's wrong with you. I have nothing to do. Just when Li Baikan wanted to ask again, he heard Sunian's voice. Hey, where did my clothes go? Clothes. At this moment Li Baikan instantly thought of the good thing he had done. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 446. Chapter 446, Who gave him the courage to compare with my Mo. In order to take down Li Baikan, I shamelessly went to find someone else to get it for me. What should I do? Do I have to ask for help? How could there be a thief in a place like this? He didn't steal anything, but just stole a few clothes from me. Why does it feel a bit weird? In order to prevent Sunian from doubting him, Li Baikan quickly took the person into his arms. Is it really okay? Don't coax me. Let's do this. I'll let Josu call a doctor for you. Take care of yourself. Take a look, lest you get sick because of me. No, really no, I'm really fine. Sunian was really afraid of taking medicine. After seeing Sunian's attention diverted, Li Baikan couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief subconsciously. This guy is really, always talking about doctor. If you didn't know better, you might think that this guy fell into the medicine jar. Did you have a stomachache the past few days? These words interrupted Sunian's slander. She raised her head and looked at Li Baikan. Does it stop hurting? Sunian thought about it carefully. When her relatives came a few days ago, it seemed that the pain was gone. Sunian nodded when he thought of this. So, taking medicine to regulate your body is useful. You must regulate your body obediently. Li Baikan paused when he said this way you will suffer less when you become pregnant in the future. When Li Baikan said such words before, Sunian was obedient. But this time, Sunian glanced at her mouth secretly. This guy knows how to draw a pie for me. He sneaks away faster than anyone else every night, and also locks the door tightly, giving me no chance to climb out of bed. No, this guy seems to know that I want a child. I didn't act too positive. Sunian started to think about it when he thought of this. The more I think about it, the more I think this guy did it on purpose. Lee Baiken. This little woman is too smart. Actually discovered even this. When Sunian looked at him, Lee Baiken really felt a little guilty. But now he clearly knows that he must hold steady. If he is not stable and is discovered, he will be finished. And once this was discovered, he would not be able to make excuses to delay the matter. I might really be left as a father and a son. You want to have a child with me? Lee Baiken nodded. We are husband and wife, how can we not have children? Although I feel sorry for your body and don't want you to suffer any injustice. When he said this, Lee Baiken sighed deeply, but what if we don't want to have children, my child, I don't care. After all, if you have less children to compete with me, I can monopolize all your attention, but the old man will not agree. I guess if we do this, the old man will never let us go. When Lee Baiken said this, Sunian looked at Lee Baiken solemnly. Carefully observe every expression of Lee Baiken. When it was confirmed that Lee Baiken was not lying, she just smiled and then threw herself into Lee Baiken's arms. I believe our child will be the cutest child in the world. Baiken, are you looking forward to our child? Anyway, I am extremely looking forward to it. If you have children in the future, who is more important to you, me or the child? When Lee Baiken finished saying this, he clearly felt that the woman holding him stiffened. He, who gave him the courage to compare with my calligraphy treasure. Lee Baiken. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Which John Word. Chapter 447. Chapter 447 Clumsy Touch. Baiken, the child is the continuation of our bloodline. It is two unrelated people. Our bloodlines are mixed together and then mixed into a new person. Don't you look forward to it? Sunian's words made Lee Baiken's throat roll slightly. This is also the reason why he did not undergo ligation surgery. If it wasn't for falling out of favor, then he really wanted a child. But you still haven't said, which is more important, me or the child? Of course you are the important one, the continuation is you. How could I put the cart before the horse? Let's coax Mo Bao out first. Sunian didn't just speak. Her weak, boneless hands roamed over his body, setting fire to everything. Don't you want it? But you were in terrible pain last time. If you are pregnant now, how can your body bear it? These words caused Sunian, who was making trouble, to stop his hand. Many pictures appeared in her mind. These pictures made Sunian feel a pain in his heart. For the sake of calligraphy, if you can't bear it, then you have to bear it. Sunian gritted his teeth. He sat directly on Lee Baiken's lap. Baiken, actually I want to get closer to you. I hope I can see you the first time I wake up in the morning, just like you were when you were sick in those days, and right now winter is coming. Maybe you don't know me, but my hands and feet don't feel warm at all in winter. A delicate voice made Lee Baiken's body tense up. He couldn't help but reach out and grab her disturbing hand. It is late autumn now. He could feel her hands being cold. If it is really the 12th lunar month of winter, you can imagine how cold your hands will be. At this moment, Sunian suddenly leaned into his ear and said, Baiken, what's in your pocket? Why are you licking me like that? Lee Baiken. He was temporarily unconscious and could not control himself. Put your eyes on this fairy-like woman. What is it? She leaned close to his cheek. Baiken, you keep saying I love you, why are you so stingy and don't even answer this little question? Is this your love? Huh. How can ordinary people resist the temptation of fairies? He seemed to be able to feel it. The blood in his body is boiling little by little. The reason gradually faded away. At this moment, Sunian gave him a gentle push. He also fell down on the sofa. It looks like everyone is at your disposal. Baiken. Her lips fell a little bit. Every time he falls, it hits his self-control. Ah, Baiken, why are the ends of your eyes so red? Sunian gradually moved this man's emotions, which gave him a sense of accomplishment. When she reached out to untie the man's tie, her movements were a little clumsy. But it is precisely because of this clumsiness. Occasional touching. It only adds to the ambiguity. The tie is unbuttoned and then buttoned. Although I have practiced it many times in my mind. But her hands were shaking a little. Lee Baiken is also a normal adult man, so he is also very confused now, whether to control or not to control. If you really get her and put your own mark on every inch of her body, then they will become closer. But another voice echoed in his mind. If you really get the calligraphy treasure out, what to do if he falls out of favor? Two thoughts are pulling at the limit. At this moment, the door to the room was pushed open. Mr. Lee, the video conference is about to start. Look. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 448. Chapter 448 Is the tyrant still feudal and superstitious? Josu felt that he had reached the most desperate time in his life. He looked at Sunian's figure leaving in a hurry. His salary, no, is his life still there? He really doesn't know. When they were the only two people left in the study, Josu looked at the motionless person sitting on the sofa. Now he just wanted to dig a crack in the ground for himself and then get in directly. It's really too bad. After Lee Baiken regained his senses, he stood up and walked outside. Josu was also entangled. Whether you want to follow or not. In case he wants to continue what he just did. Aren't you here to urge me to have a meeting? Why don't you have a meeting? Hearing this, Josu immediately understood and started to get various equipment. Sunian returned to his room and buried himself under the quilt. It's really a shame. Sunian also wants to lose face. Moreover, Josu often follows her, so how can she face Josu? Ah, why is this happening? It's really impossible to see anyone. Sunian really feels stupid now, extremely stupid. Even if you start, you can't choose the study room. If Lee Baiken reacted, perhaps you would think how she is. While this is true. In this way, Sunian locked himself in the room all day. Night. When Lee Baiken finished the meeting and knew that Sunian had not eaten, his face immediately turned dark. The servant didn't dare to say anything when he saw Lee Baiken's face. Lee Baiken certainly knew why the little woman didn't eat. The reason why he looked bad was because so many things in the company delayed him and delayed his return to coax his wife to eat. Lee Baiken knocked on the door a few times and then went in. After entering, he saw Sunian tucking herself into the quilt like a turtle and laughed. I'm sorry. Sunian sat up immediately. It's okay, don't worry, Josu is a very strict person, he won't talk nonsense. Why does God do this to me? My pants are taken off every time, so give me this. It's really abominable. Lumstus in this matter, it is the woman who suffers the disadvantage. Why, these days, I just want to suffer a loss, why is it so difficult? Seeing the little woman's increasingly depressed face, Lee Baiken couldn't help laughing, and then walked to the bed and sat down. Don't worry, if he talks nonsense, then I will deduct his salary. But doesn't this mean that there are no 300 taels of silver here? Sunian muttered. What about killing people and silencing them? Sunian. Josu, I really didn't mean it, help me, someone help me, I really didn't mean it. Lee Baiken pulled the person into his arms. Maybe the time has not come yet, and we finally got together. We can't be too hasty about these things. Let's do this. I'll find an auspicious day. As for this auspicious day, Lee Baiken felt that he could make good use of it. Hold on if you can. If it can't be delayed. As long as he lives in this life, how can a little kid compete with him for favor? Well, Lee Baiken is also consoling himself. But what else can I do if I don't comfort myself like this? He now has no confidence in his own self-control. Auspicious day. Why is it related to this feudal superstition again? Why is Lee Baiken, a good overlord, such a feudal superstition? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 449. Chapter 449. We are not good people, so why are we pursuing morality? In the shopping mall, Sun Ying-er and Sunian each held a milk tea in their hands and looked at the children's clothing store not far away. Looking at Lan Min, who was buying clothes. I think it's a bit immoral for us to gloat about misfortune. Sun Ying-er took a sip of milk tea. We are not good people, why should we pursue morality? Sun Ying-er thinks it makes sense. Sunian looked at her, and sister, don't forget, but it wasn't my suggestion that you called me here. Sunian received a call from Sun Ying-er as soon as she opened her eyes today. It is said that Lan Min began to learn how to be a good mother. So I took her to have a look. If there is any need for help, then they can help. It's quite a loss. But when the heroine is unlucky, this is what the vicious female supporting role should do. Let's go, sister, it's time for our vicious female partner to do some work. Sun Ying-er laughed when she heard this, but she still pretended to protest. What do you mean by this? Why are we vicious female supporting characters? You have called me here, and you are not yet a vicious female partner. But I think that no matter what we do, we must do it to the extreme. If we are extremely vicious, then we are also powerful people. Sun Ying-er thinks it makes sense. Then her two vicious female partners appeared in front of Lan Min. When Lan Zhen saw her, his heart suddenly tightened. But she still managed a smile. What a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you here. What are you doing here? Buying clothes for the children, Sunian answered calmly. This made Lan Min's face stiffen. It took 3 seconds before he spoke. Ms. Su, are you also buying clothes for your friend's children? No, I'm buying clothes for my future children. These words completely changed Lan Min's face. Sunian walked to the rack of infant clothes and started to fiddle with the clothes casually. Lan Yan, didn't I lose a child before? So Baiken felt that we need to prepare for pregnancy seriously, so I thought of visiting here. After all, there are the most childish people here. Maybe if I wander around here a lot, I will have good luck with my children. Prepare for pregnancy. Sunian's happy expression really stung her eyes. Sunian felt really happy. In her last life, this woman kept saying that she had used special means to become pregnant with Lee Baiken's child, so she was belittled and looked down upon in various ways. Now she has a chance to take revenge. How could Sunian not take revenge? Lanji, what you said before is right. It is good for two people to love each other. I thought you were wrong before, but now I realize what you said is good. Lanji, I am sorry for the fact that I wrongly blamed you before. I apologize to you. After saying this, Sunian walked directly to Lan Min and held her hand very affectionately. Hey, Lan, your hands are so cold, are you sick? It would be bad if you were sick. These words simply couldn't keep Lan Ren smiling. Sun Ying-er, who was next to her, also cooperated and said, by the way, Lan Min, what are you doing here? You just told Nian Nian that she was also buying for a friend. Could it be that you were also buying for a friend? I just saw you choosing so carefully. Looks like this, I guess this friend is very important to you, that's why you are so attentive and attentive. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 450. Chapter 450 Retribution. There is no harm without contrast. Lan Min locked himself in the room for a whole day before he adjusted his mood. I came here intending to buy some clothes for the child, since Lin Yuan had already handed the child over to her. She must not let Lin Yuan down, she must be a good mother. Share worries for Lin Yuan. But now seeing Sunian like this, her mentality was about to collapse. She is buying it for another woman to give her beloved child. But Sunian is buying something for her future child. This resulted in Lan Min's nails successfully sinking into the flesh. Oh, why did I have a brain problem? Why did I forget that the day before yesterday, Lan Min, you were upgraded to a mother? Of course you came here to buy for your child. When will you take your child out and let us being able to take a good look, and even say that I almost became the elder of this child? After all, according to what Lin Yuan said before, if I agreed to marry him, I might face the same situation. Now that Sun Ying'er looks at Lan Min like this, she really feels extremely happy in her heart. After all, she almost watched Huo Lin Yuan give birth to a child with her. It can also be said that this is the situation she almost had to face. It's a pity that things have changed. Thinking of this, Sun Ying'er directly pulled Lan Min over. Lan Min, do you feel comfortable? Is this the retribution in the legend? Ha ha ha. Lan Min still maintained the smile on his face. Miss Sun, what do you mean by this? I think you should be very happy to raise a child for the man you love, but I can't do it anyway. Sun Ying'er's eyes turned red when she said this. After all, this was the fate that had been placed before her. If she hadn't met Sunian, even if she didn't want to succumb to her fate, those so-called family members would have done so. I can only watch Lan Min and Huo Lin Yuan falling in love. Then give birth to a son. Reduced to the point that Sunian said. Sunian also saw Sun Ying'er's discomfort, so she quickly supported her. Lan Min, do you think this is retribution? You are not qualified to marry Huo Lin Yuan now. You still have to raise children for Huo Lin Yuan and watch him grow up with other people's children. Ha ha ha, you are not as good as me. After all, if I agree Huo Lin Yuan, then I can still get Mrs. Huo's position, and you can only be called his beloved. These words broke all Lan Min's self-comfort. Retribution. Is it really retribution? Everything will be fine. Sunian comforted her warmly, held Sun Ying'er in her arms, and said in her ear in a voice that only two people could hear, Sister, you are no longer the Sun Ying'er you once were. We must to be happy, we should laugh now. The happier we laugh, the harder it will be for those who hurt us. Sunian's gentle voice soothed the pain in Sun Ying'er's heart. That's right, it's not her who's feeling uncomfortable now. Sun Ying'er took a deep breath, and then adjusted herself. I'm sorry, Lan, I lost my temper. You and Nian, one has become a mother of a child, and the other will become a mother of a child in the near future. I believe in you. There's definitely a lot to talk about. Lan Min felt as if he was being cut with a knife. But she knew very clearly that these two women were provoking herself. Thinking about losing my temper and then kicking her out of the company. If you kick them out of the company, you will have no chance to make them pay the price. So for the sake of the overall situation, she must be patient. So under Sun Ying'er's eyes, she could only say, okay, please give me more advice in the future. After all, we have to work together in the future. End of this chapter.